All right. Well, Scott, thank you for being here. Just on behalf of the chamber, and personally, like to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. But I've gotten to know you a little bit, but I think there's, for the people in Limestone County that don't, you just take a minute, tell us about yourself and just how you've been involved in the county and just your history with Limestone County.
All right. Well, thank you. Like I said, I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce putting this on. Like I said, it's hard to get to everybody in the county.
Mm-hmm.
As we all know, it's growing like crazy. So my name is Scott Craig. I've lived here in Limestone County since I was born. My family, been here for generations. I've graduated from West Limestone High School back in 1990. Played basketball at UAH after high school. And then after that, I stayed in college for a year. I got out, started working different construction jobs. I've done millwright work. I've tied rebar, so I know what hard work is. And then after that, I just didn't see where I was going, so I joined the Air Force. So I was in the Air Force for 4 years, and we've returned back here to Limestone County in 1997. And then when I got back here in 97, I worked for a couple of years, and we just were still struggling a little bit, being a new young family. So we moved to Mississippi, to the coast. There's a little bit more work down there. So we stayed there for that's where my wife's family was from. We stayed there to about 2003. And a friend of mine, George Christopher, helped get me on at TVA. And I started at TVA in the instrumentation program in 2003. Went through a 3.5-year apprenticeship program. And then once I finished that, I stayed there and worked in the instrumentation department as a journeyman, as a senior instrument mechanic, as a foreman, as a supervisor. So I just worked through the ranks there at TVA, and I retired this past May. We have a family-owned business out in the county on Salem Minor Hill Road. It's Primetime Basketball Academy. I work with kids in basketball, so when people see all these pictures on Facebook of different candidates at everything, the pictures you see of me is on weekends I'm working with kids in travel basketball and AAU basketball tournament. So I'm not coming to these events because I don't care.
Yeah.
I've got a small business and I'm keeping it running. So I enjoy doing that with the family. My son, he actually helps coach the boys' team. Been married for 32 years, coming here in a couple of weeks. And like I said, we have 2 children, and they work in the business also.
Yeah. And you told me how many AAU teams you have out there?
Last year I had 11. This year we've got 9.
Wow. Yeah.
I coach all the girls' teams. My son coaches the boys' teams. So
yeah, I've got a friend that coaches one city league basketball team, and that's all he can handle.
Like I said, I go on the weekends and I'm coaching 3 teams and just going from gym to gym. But I really enjoy it. So I enjoy working with youth.
Yeah.
So.
And how many years were you at TVA?
I was there for 22 years.
22 years.
Yep.
Wow.
Went by pretty quick.
Well, I'm curious. It's, the question I'm going to get to is what can you do different? But there's been a lot of success in Limestone County over the past, 7, 8 years. And a lot of people would ask the question, well, what needs to change? We've had success, but obviously you wouldn't be running if you thought there doesn't need to be a change. So I'm curious, what can Scott Craig do different, and why don't you think the current pattern is sustainable?
Okay, well, I appreciate the question. Like I said, anybody that drives the roads in Limestone County, you can start in an Ardmore, come down 53 and see the growth.
Mm-hmm. You
can start on Highway 99 coming out of Athens. You can see the new supermarket going in. There's growth everywhere. Go down either way of 72. I mean, the growth is happening. And like I said, I think the original question was 4 to 5 years, and it just came out that it was 7 years. We've been like the fastest growing county. So we've brought in a lot of jobs, good jobs. Like I said, the $4 billion capital investment, like I said, Polaris and Toyota Mazda is incorporated in that amount. But those were actually in the works way before chairman is in there now. So that was happening no matter who was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this area we're in, like I said, it's growing if we like it or not. But I feel like there's a change in leadership because right now I believe the chairman is totally reactive to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any forethought, any planning. Looking ahead, we're just trying to keep, like lack of a better term, keep our head above water a lot of times. We're growing at a rate that I don't think our infrastructure is keeping up with, because we've having water issues in the county where me and my wife were at a closing one day and the wind was blowing, the sun was shining, and the power went out. So people, you see it all the time. People is making comments. Those kind of serve. We got to get that fixed. The school, we had the schools where we moved kids around here. If we got all these people moving in, growing 3-4% every year, we're going to have to start looking ahead and get a plan for 5 years from now, not just reacting when people start showing up.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, another thing, like she's talking about that capital investment. Like I said, we got a lot of big companies coming in, but we can't forget our small businesses either. Like I said, those people, they get assessed values on everything they own. Owning a small business myself, I understand that. You pay assessed value. You pay taxes on assessed value of something that's brand new, even though it may be 10, 20 years old. So that's something that just seems almost insane to me, and that's something we probably need to look at. But what I can offer that's not there now is leadership. I have no hidden agenda. I've already retired. I've worked a career, so I'm ready to start helping Limestone County get ahead of this growth, not just try to keep up with it. That's my biggest thing. So leadership that can get the commission moving in the same direction. Like I said, we got 4 districts. From the outside looking in, it looks like we got 4 districts pulling 4 different ways. We need somebody in there that can unite, get us all going in the same direction, and just make Limestone County better.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I work for a family-owned business in Athens, too, so that resonates with me, what you said about small businesses. This wasn't one of my questions, but your time with TVA, do you think that gives you a little bit of an edge over the other two? Just because that's a big challenge now, the power grid in Limestone County, and I'm just curious if you feel like you're maybe have a little bit better connection with TVA.
Yeah, well, like I said, been working there at TVA, and like I said, I understand that part of it a little bit more. But there's still people I know that work out there. I just went out there for the last outage and worked for a couple of weeks, so I know a lot of people out there. Like I said, we got to figure out. Like I said, I don't think it's the TVA grid. I think it's other things that are going on. We just, like I said, a lot of stuff. And like I said, if you go down the back way in Athens and look at all them businesses around there, when you see all the lines just running everywhere, you could see how the wind blowing could cause something to happen. So
TVA is kind of the scapegoat for a lot of things, and you probably know that more than anybody. But.
You get blamed for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The funny story I had on that, we were working one night, and one of the guys' wives called in and said, "Hey, we lost power in Madison. Can y'all help us get it back on?" So that has nothing to do with TVA. And I told her, "Ma'am, I'll help you any way I can." So we just left it at that. But back to the question you said about a little heads up. Like I said, I believe my leadership from being in the military will help. Like I said, I was Air Force veteran. I'm a member of the AMVETS, the VFW. I believe I've worked with all kinds of different people my whole life. Just been thrown places, and hey, you got to figure it out. So I'm very good at getting groups together and getting us going toward a common goal. Yeah,
I appreciate that answer. You already talked a little bit about roads, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
Understand completely.
It was a kind of a surprise to me when I found out the biggest part of the county's budget is public safety. I would have assumed it would have been roads by far, but it's public safety. So Limestone County is a relatively safe place. You wouldn't move back here if it wasn't, but there's always room for improvement. So talk a little bit about public safety, and if you're elected, do you plans to improve it?
Okay. Well, like I said, I agree. Limestone County is a relatively safe place, but my way I look at stuff is I want to be proactive, not reactive. So I know I've spoke with the sheriff, and he's undermanned for the amount of population we got now. So that's the first thing. I want to get with him and make sure he's got the right staffing needs, because that's not fair to anybody in the county that if a sheriff has to determine what he goes to, depending on. So if you need the police, you should be able to call and they should respond. So I'm gonna get with him and make sure that he's got the proper staffing, proper facilities. Like I said, that's being kicked around right now. And like I said, I want to go ahead and just fix this issue too. Like I said, I feel like a lot of times here in Limestone County, we just will Band-Aid an issue and let's worry about it later on. We've got to get to the point to where we just fix something, be done with it, and move on.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that could be done with the public safety part, with the sheriff's department for sure. But secondly, I think about the volunteer fire departments too when I think about public safety. And right now, the commission gives absolutely nothing to the volunteer fire departments, but we depend on those people. If we call them, we need them to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of traffic going on about that. I mentioned it on my campaign page about 2 months ago. I didn't even realize that they were getting no funding. I mean, there's a fire fee that we all pay when we pay our property taxes, and that goes to the revenue office, which goes to the commission office, and they send the checks out. But they also take a $20,000 admin fee off the top of that, which I don't understand that, but that's something we can look into later on if I get elected.
Yeah.
But like I said, we got those firemen. I mean, it's nothing more than self-pride and love of their community and why they're doing it. So once I get in office, I mean, we got to get together with these people, make them feel appreciated, see what their needs are. I mean, we're giving money to other things like crazy, but we're taking these groups for granted, and that's something. And I commented on a post on Facebook last night. That's a priority of mine, to get with the volunteer fire departments, figure out what they need, and let's move on from there.
Yeah. Limestone County's big, and Athens City covers a small portion of
That's
it. So
right.
you got to think of who's going to put out fires, who's going to service
That's
car
right.
vehicle
So
wrecks.
I always think we got to take care of the people that's taking care of us. That's sort of the way I feel about that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that answer. Kind of along the same lines, talking about kind of the unincorporated part of the county, and including Athens City, but Limestone County is home to 8 municipalities. You can't be everything to everybody all at once, and people on Facebook will let you know that faster than anybody else. But
yes, I agree completely.
If you can be as specific as possible, what are some priorities you're going to focus on when you are elected with regard to those different municipalities? And again, we're talking about things that you're going to give immediate attention to, or at least would like to.
Okay. Well, like I said, and a lot of people think the chairman's got total control. That chairman doesn't even vote unless it's a tie vote, but he does have a lot of say-so what we talk about. So I feel like we got to get a lot more discussion.
Yeah.
So part of mine is like the budget spending. The budget just keeps growing. I think this past year, budget's like $65 million. I mean, the budget spending, like I said, there was $4 million given to Athens State College for the Carter Center. I think Athens City gave like $3.2 million. I just don't feel like that $4 million, that's the right place for $4 million to be spent. I think that like you said, the roads we got, we could put that somewhere else.
Yeah.
I want to look at the spending and see where all this money is actually going, and see if we can't look. So that budget's real important to me. Like I said, we'll talk about the roads later. That's a whole separate question by itself. But we'll talk a little bit about the services provided by the county. Because like I said, I went to a thing not too long ago. It's called Veterans Treatment Court, where it's people that got in trouble that they go through this process and get rehabilitated, and it goes off their record. So that's something that's very important. I know they keep asking for money to keep this program going, and they've been ignored. So hopefully me bringing it up, a lot of stuff I've brought up in the last 3 months is getting attention. So hopefully this will be something else that gets attention.
Yeah.
And like we talked about the volunteer fire departments, we got to fix that service before it's too late. And also, like I said, we have water issues and stuff in the county. We have right now, I think the city does, but the county doesn't, like a text message 311 type service. So like I found out my road was going to be worked on just because it happened to pop up on Facebook. So Facebook's not the way that we should be broadcasting to people what's going on.
Yeah.
So we need to come up with some kind of service where people can sign up for it, which is not a cost to them. But when something's happening in the county, if there's going to be a water outage, if there's going to be road work done, that we get a text update, because everybody's got that phone in their hand 24/7. Text pops up, at least give them an idea, and then go from there. So that's some of the services, the working meetings. I mean, people can come in and speak at the working meetings. You get 3 minutes to talk, but there's never any dialogue there.
Mm-hmm.
You say it, they say, welcome, thank you for coming. You speak, and they say, thank you for coming. Or they'll say, we'll meet you out in the hallway after the meeting. We'll discuss it more. There's got to be something there where if somebody takes time out of their day, because the meeting's in the middle of the day, you're either taking off work or retired, or you got to be able to, they deserve an answer. Maybe it's not the answer they want to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe say, let me do a little bit more research and I'll get back with you if you don't know the answer. But just everybody just sitting there looking down, that's got to change. I don't think that's not being transparent with your constituents at all. If they come up there and ask you a question, but that's something I want to fix about the working meetings.
Yeah. I'm picking up on some themes. Transparency is a big one.
Yeah.
Communication. And then you kept mentioning the word proactive. I think that's those three things keep coming up.
And a lot of people just say those are buzzwords. But, man, if you look back at any election, transparency, I mean, we're talking about the same stuff that the chairman now ran on in 2018. So undoubtedly it's not working, or we wouldn't have 3 people running for it again. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. So we're going to move on to the question that 90% of the people listening to this are going to want to hear.
Yeah, this is one they need to put it at the front, or they'll never make it to it.
That's right. We're going to talk about roads. In your opinion, where has Limestone County failed in its responsibility to maintain its road system?
Well, like I said, failing road system is probably the understatement of the day. So, and I believe it's all in the process that we go to get these roads, to get the roads worked on. Right now, we have if you walked in there today and I don't know what road you live on, but just say, I want to know when my road's next to be worked on. Nobody knows. So right now, the way I understand the process after talking to the engineer is they go out and look the roads. They give that to each commissioner, and then they get with the financial officer and they say, hey, you can do this many roads with the amount of money you have. And then they make the final decision what roads get done. And that process is so outdated. It's something that's got to be looked at because it gives off the perception. And I know you've heard it. I've heard it out campaigning. If I don't donate money to people's campaign, my road ain't never going to get fixed. I don't believe that's totally true, but the perception sometimes is too hard to get over. So.
Yeah.
But like I said, I feel like when I get in there, I want to put everything on the table to get these roads. I mean, we got a county engineering department. I'm sure they have better ideas on what we're doing now. You got to listen to people that know how to fix this stuff. I'm no road guy. I know how to dodge a pothole. I've got good at that the last 10, 15 years. But besides that, you just got to listen. You don't have to be the smartest person. You just got to listen and figure out somebody that knows how to fix this issue, and let's do it. So, right now I went to a meeting about a month ago, and they decided to add $5 million this year for roads. Well, if you look back through history, we always add a lot election year, and that's total baloney to me. So I don't think that's the way it should be worked. But they added the $5 million, and in a previous meeting I was there, one of the commissioners said, we can't even spend all that money. So why do we want to add this money? Because in March, we just now finished up last year's budget. Now we're working on this year's budget from March to October. So we've got, like I said, this is something it's a big issue. What we're doing now, throwing money at it's not the answer. That $5 million, it went to a fund, and they said during the meeting, if we don't use it, we'll just roll it back in the general fund. So they know they wasn't going to use it when they put it out there. So we got to get these smaller, like I said, we got big companies that help with the paving. We got our own paving crew. Maybe we need to add employees and get a second crew. But we got to do something to get ahead of this growth. Yeah. Because these people are coming where, like I said, if they like it or not, and if we keep doing the same old, we'd never have a chance to get caught up.
Yeah. Well, something as simple as, something somebody can look at and say, when's my road going to get paved? Where is it on the priority list? I don't think you get much pushback on that.
Well, like I said, and we have no plan right now, so we got to start out. Let's do a 1-year plan.
Yeah.
And then let's move to 3, and then let's don't try to just go out 10 years and make up stuff.
Yeah.
Let's come up with a legitimate plan. And it's a living document. Stuff's gonna move around.
Yeah.
Something's gonna get washed out we don't know about. I mean, that kind of stuff we can adapt to. But you've got to have some kind of plan. We just can't wing it like we're doing now. So that's the perception I get. That's perception. A lot of people I talked to campaigning said we're just winging it.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, being proactive. Yeah,
that's an easy thing to say.
Yeah,
but once you get in office, you gotta follow through with this.
Yeah,
you can't say this and then get in there and say, "Well, I can't do nothing."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's not just going to be easy. Walk in and change stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People's asked me about all you want to do is talk about what you're going to do. Where are you going to get the money at? And I said, hey, we got a $30 million surplus. I'll probably start there. I mean, I don't like paying property taxes, and lack of a better word, our money being hoarded and invested by the county.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't need it, then let's cut back on what I pay property taxes.
Yeah. So
don't just take it and invest it for me. I can invest my own money. I don't need you to do that. So
yeah,
that's something I think we're getting a little too far. 30 million surplus seems a little excessive to me.
Yeah.
I think we need to take that money and take care of our county and not just worry about, like you said, Athens city limits. There's a lot more to Limestone County than right there around Athens.
Yeah, that's interesting. I appreciate that answer. And I tend to agree with you. I can invest my own money.
Yeah,
so,
I don't need them trying to get 4%. I'll try to get a little more than
that. Yeah, I appreciate that. We got time for one more question.
Okay.
So if I'm standing in the voting booth and I've got 3 names in front of me, all right, and I hear Scott Craig's voice in my head, what do you want me to hear?
Well, like I said last time we talked about this, just make it simple and vote in alphabetical order. Just hit Craig and move on. That's the easiest way to do this. But right now I looked yesterday, and there's like in 2024 on that Vote Limestone page said there's 83,000 registered voters. So I assume 3% growth. We're probably 85, 86 now. But the big thing is we got to vote. We got to turn out. I've had people text me personally, tell me about issues. I'm not voting for anybody. Well, if you don't like what's going on, not voting for anybody is not the correct thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to change, you got to get out and vote. And I've looked through the numbers of this, and this is normally about a 30% turnout. So you take 30% into 85,000, we're a little over 25,000 people. So my thing is, we got a lot more of that's telling what's wrong with the county. So the only way you're going to fix this is you got to get out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we always talk about that. We've got 83,000 people registered and 25 turning out.
Yeah.
I mean, the Athens city mayor race last time, 12% turnout. We got a lot of people think their vote doesn't matter, but these local elections, your vote really does matter.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at the national thing, I could see where people could feel that way. So, like I said, that's the first thing. Got to get out and vote. You got to make sure that, like I said, that's in Limestone County how it is now. I want you to think about how it was 10, 15 years ago. If you like it now, then you probably want to keep voting the same way. But I told them when I introduced myself, I said, give me 4 years. If our roads are not better, if the services we provide for the county are not better, and you don't feel like we're going in the right direction, we have an election in 2030, vote somebody new in, let them try.
Mm-hmm.
This getting in the office and trying to make a career out of it, I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to say I'm in it for public service and all this. You're a public servant. That's the buzzword now. You're not in it for public servant if you're just trying to make 10, 12 years and draw retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So I myself, I like term limits.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, but I think in the county you got to make it to 10 years to get a retirement. So that's the reason everybody keeps running that third term. So, but like I said, we need a chairman, that can get us all united moving forward. Like I said, a lot of people I'm talking to campaigning, you hear the good old boy system. That's all it is. You can't do nothing. It's all the good old boy system. Well, I'm not a member of the good old boy group or whoever that group is that everybody, you always hear they. I don't know who they is, but I'm not they. So if you don't like the way it's going, vote for somebody new, give them a shot. And if they don't do it the way you like it, then vote them out in 4 years. Yeah. I've heard stuff, well, they ain't been in but 4 years. We got to give them time to learn the job. Ain't many places you get 4 years to learn your job. You take you 4 years to learn your job, you're probably looking for another one. So, yeah. So my biggest thing is I ask for your vote on May 19th. I know that's right when school's starting to get out and people's getting ready to go on vacation. Might be the reason we have 30% turnout. But please just if you're going to be out of town, you can absentee vote. Just take the time, make sure you're registered. And like I said, I've talked to people who said, yeah, I'm registered. We looked them up and they're not even registered to vote. So don't assume just because you live here, you're registered. You can go into the site, put your name in. It'll tell you where you're registered at, where you vote at. We've changed some voting precincts. Everybody probably needs to do that because we're dependent on the mail to let you know. So you might not even get that in time. So that's the thing. Just I ask you to get out and vote. Like I said, if you like the way everything's going now, keep voting that way. Yeah. If you want to change, I'm the candidate to vote for.
I appreciate that. You said 30% turnout?
30%. It was like 27 to 30 over the last 12 years.
As a veteran, does that bother you when people they don't exercise that right?
Well, a lot of people, I think they take it for granted. Yeah. Because a lot of people, like I said, they don't feel like in a national election when you see the presidential vote and it's millions and millions of votes and you see it just the little ones digit way over here, you're like, I don't matter. But like I said, in these local elections, if we had an extra 15, 20% turnout, now you're talking 50% of 85,000. Now we're getting a bigger look at who all's in the county's opinion. Yeah. So, like I said, and it's been pretty consistent between 25 and 30. So, the same people are voting every time. So the only way you're going to get something new is if this other 70% decides, hey, we're tired of the people with money or whatever running my county. I want to see something new. Yeah. So,
well, hopefully we can convince a few people to get out and vote after listening to
like this. I said, I hope they do. Like I said, but some people you're never going to change their opinion. So But like I said, please look at my website if you hadn't seen it. Like I said, scottcraigforchairman.com. Get on there and look. It's got a place you can send me questions. I've answered everything about zoning. What do you think about zoning in the county? I don't want anybody telling me what to do with my land, so that was pretty self-sufficient. And you'll get some. There's no dumb questions, but you get some that are out there. So I'll answer anything you ask. But my thing is, I always ask, what's your opinion on it? My opinion in this chairman is not. I'm not the smartest person in the county. If the county wants something, that's what I should be for. So that's where we gotta. I think that's where the change needs to be.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I appreciate you being here, and I've enjoyed getting to know you. And I have too. I wish you luck this I guess in May here in 2 months or so.
Yeah, we got about 40-something days left, so it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, well, Scott, thanks for your time
today.
Thank you,
man. I appreciate you too.